General Hyten, as we've discussed and has been made well known, the Russians are in violation of the INF Treaty. Is that true?
Yes, Chairman, that's true.
And what does this mean for the threat to the United States and our European allies?
It's a concern that we have to look at across the entire spectrum of what Russia has been doing. Russia has been modernizing their entire nuclear force. They started an aggressive effort in 2006. They continue that to this day. This breach of the INF Treaty that caused the deployment of a ground-launched cruise missile is a concern to us because we have not seen that for quite some time. It's another element we're going to have to consider as we look forward to how we deal with Russia.
How do we deal with the INF, with the ground-launched cruise missile itself?
A single ground-launched cruise missile is not a significant threat to the United States or allies. It shows the beginning of a deployment of a structure that could be a threat in the future.
If it's deployed in a significant number, what does that do?
We have no defense for it, especially in defense of our European allies. That system can range and threaten most of the continent of Europe, depending on where it is deployed. We'll talk about that in detail in the closed hearing tomorrow, Senator, but it is a concern, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with it as a nation.
Certainly a compelling argument for Vladimir Putin's disregard for most norms of behavior that the Russia at post-Soviet Union used to adhere to, or even during the Soviet Union times.
I believe that the United States has only effectively dealt with Russia over the years from a position of strength. I think the only way we can deal with them in the future is from a position of strength. And I think the work of this committee and the work of my command can help that strength be established so we are in a good position to have future discussions with the Russians.
Seems to me to gain or regain that position of strength, we need to give you some help. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm asking for help on modernizing our entire forces and making sure we have the force structure that is needed to make sure we can deter not only today but in the future.
And what would be your priorities?
Senator, my priorities are to modernize the platform elements of the triad. I think when you look across the force,
which are?
The platform elements of the triad are first the submarine, the Ohio-class replacement program, the Columbia. That is number one on the issue. The next is the GBSD, the ground-based strategic deterrent, the replacement for our Minuteman ICBMs. The third piece is the B-21 bomber with the long-range standoff weapon associated with that. That's the replacement of the air-launched cruise missile. The second piece of the puzzle is the modernization of the nuclear weapons. The nuclear weapons themselves have to be modernized so they can last well into the coming decades. And finally, a very important piece that I'm probably most concerned about right now is the nuclear command and control modernization that we have to have as we move into the coming decades.
Under the present circumstances of sequestration, do you see any way of achieving all those goals?
Senator, if we don't get stable budgets, when